entertain a motion to come out of executive session into open session.
Make that motion.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right, motion second. Are there any discussion? I'll start the vote. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. This time I'd ask each of you to certify that we spoke only what we went into closed session under 2.2-3711A1, whereas the Carroll County Board of Supervisors conveyed a closed session this date pursuant to affirmative recorded vote, and on the motion to close the meeting in accordance to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, whereas Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session of which this certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which this closed session was conveyed were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. I'll start the certification with Mr. Early,
I so certify.
Mr. Collins,
I so certify.
Mr. Hill,
I so certify.
Mr. McCraw,
I so certify.
Mr. Dixon,
I so certify.
and I so certify. All right, at this time, I'd ask Mr. Collins if he'd lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Let's all stand. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight, taking care of the business of the county. We pray that you give us leadership and guidance in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add a couple things to it. I think we have some of the people from the fire committee and Mr. Mankins with the Dixie Boys from Cana. If I could get that motion to amend to allow them to be on the agenda after the public hearing.
Make that motion.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right, I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, at this time, I'll open the public hearing for the personal property tax rate at 610. And I've been informed nobody has signed up to speak on that, so we will wait for 1 minute to close the public hearing.
And Mr. Chairman, while no one has signed up to speak, I
All right,
could just clarify for the record that
okay.
in this situation, because it's not contemplated to raise that property rate, the public hearing's not necessarily required, but it was done just to give the public as much notice as possible. In this situation, the Code of Virginia has been amended to allow you to segregate for taxation purposes motor vehicles, trucks, pickup trucks, handicap-equipped pickup trucks, motorcycles, mopeds, all-terrain vehicles, and similar vehicles as defined in the statute and in the resolution before you. This is the first time you've had the ability to separate that out and to tax it at a different rate than general personal property. So the directive to the board, from the board to us, was to prepare a resolution. You adopted the ordinance last month to separate that out as a separate classification. And the purpose of today's resolution agenda item is to, if it is the board's pleasure, to establish a different rate for motor vehicles and those similar vehicles that are described in the resolution. Okay. Generally, we're talking about personal automobiles, personal pickup trucks, mopeds, motorcycles, etc.
All right, I'll close the public hearing at 6:12, and also I would like to direct staff to have a public hearing for next month to do away with the tax or the stickers fees for at least 1 year.
Motor vehicle license
Yep,
fees.
and look at it after a year. So if we could advertise for that. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to either keep the personal property tax rate the same or to change that rate.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we change it from the current $2.30 to $2 per 100.
All right, I have a motion to change it from the current $2.30 a hundred to $2 a hundred. Do I have a second? All right, hearing no second, motion fails. I'll entertain a motion to change the personal property rate or leave it the same.
I'll make a motion to change it from 230 per hundred to 215.
All right.
15 cents.
I have a motion to change it from 230 to 215 a hundred. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
No.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next on the agenda is citizens' time. Thank you. All right. Katie Gwynn.
Hi, my name is Katie Gwynn. Is this working?
You're live.
Okay. All right. I'm on the clock. I live in Fireside Drive in Laurel Fork. I'm an organic market gardener with a fruit orchard that I planted 4 years ago. I have 67 years of poison-free gardening and farming under my belt. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for the work you're doing for our county. In late summer 2020, my son and I were out in our garden, and we heard a helicopter hovering nearby for about 20 minutes. And we thought, there's been an accident. So I went out to investigate. And it turns out, and this is on page 1 of your handout, which I left, I had left at your thing. There's an extensive article in the Carroll News about this. We went out to investigate, and it turns out the helicopter was at the cornfield about a half mile from my house spraying fungicide, according to one of the employees. When I got back to the house, it had already drifted to my place a half a mile away. And unfortunately, they sprayed right at dusk on a Friday afternoon at dusk. The regulatory agencies were closed, and all the birds and pollinators were roosting at the time. So there was no escape. Within 2 days of that spraying, 60% of the birds that we used to have at our farm were gone, including songbirds that are migratory. This is right before migration. And at least 60% of the pollinators that I need for my business as a market gardener and a fledgling orchardist. This year, after the second summer of spraying, we're now down to 3/4 of those are missing. So aerial spraying used to be illegal, but it's recently been legalized again. And unfortunately, the spraying of fungicides is a real hazard to humans and to wildlife. It's called an endocrine disruptor, and it can cause terrible problems with the thyroid, the master gland. So it's not only a threat to our health, but it's a threat to business. Anybody who's trying to farm or garden without poisons. There's 7,000 acres in Carroll and Grayson that are being sprayed at this time by helicopter. So we as citizens of Carroll County feel like we have a right to clean, safe air, water, and soil. And as Rachel Carson said in the 60s, when she helped to ban DDT and aerial spraying, she said, the right of the citizen to be secure in his own home against the intrusions of poisons applied by other persons. And there are safe alternatives to fungicides, for instance, neem oil. I've used it myself. So I just have one sentence. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking the Board of Supervisors to take this matter into serious consideration and begin the process of enacting a new ordinance that would ban the aerial application of toxic chemicals such as fungicides, and for the safety of all our people. And those articles talk more about fungicide and the dangers of the spraying. Thank you for your time.
Are these the letters that you spoke to me about over the weekend that your
Oh,
neighbor
yeah,
had
those
wrote?
are two people that.
Okay, did you want to read them, or did you want us to read them and add them to the part of the meeting?
Yeah, if you could.
Okay, I will.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question before you do that?
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you know who was doing the spraying? Was it,
I know who did it last year and the year before. I don't know if the same person is leasing this cornfield
but
or
it was a
not.
private individual, not a government agency like the Forest
Oh, no,
Service?
no, it's not forestry. It's a man named Randall Eller.
Okay, well, I'm sure there are regulations or rules that, over a certain wind speed or humidity, they probably aren't supposed to be spraying. Could we look into whether or not there's any state guidance on those sort of things? Rex, perhaps you know more about it than I do.
Well, both times they sprayed after hours on a weekend and at dusk. So it makes me believe they didn't want anybody to be watching them spraying. I'm not sure, but that's conjecture.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't relieve them of any requirements.
Right, and I failed to mention, but it's in the article, that there were 3 children standing outside while they were spraying this field across from their house.
Yeah.
They are required by law to notify families that they're going to be spraying. They let those 3 children stand out there while they were spraying. So, in fact, the mother of those children is here to speak also. Is there any other questions?
Thank you.
And I know they do
Is she
have
on-
regulations, but right now it's kind of unregulated regulations.
Is she on the list?
She wanted to be, but the list was gone, so, yeah.
Could you introduce her to the mic next?
Oh, okay, sure.
And it's what?
Okay, this is Ashley Pack, and
Okay.
she's my neighbor out in Laurel Fork. She lives directly across from the field. Like, her property is like 5 minutes or 5 paces from the field they sprayed. This is her son, Damien. Javion, and he was one of the 3 children standing outside watching them spray,
Okay.
and was not notified.
So we've lived in Laurel Fork on Maple Shade Road since December of 2018. And I had noticed that every fall, and then, in the spring as well, there would be helicopters spraying stuff. I'm not a farmer. I am very appreciative of our farmers. I know that we have to have them for food and things. However, my children were outside, all 3 of them. I have a 12-year-old, 9 and 7, and I have a new 8-month-old. And the boys were outside standing on a rock, an airplane. They were so excited. And I seen this mist coming out of the airplane. Like I said, I'm not a farmer, but something inside me said, pull them inside. I'm not sure what this is. So we brought the kids inside, and sure enough, after, I've had a lot of conversations with Katie and doing my own research online, there are chemicals and they are being sprayed. No one tells us when they're going to do these things. And it's my front door from the cornfield is to the door right there. It's literally across a 2-lane road. And so I feel like, I'm not consenting to my children or me breathing whatever's coming out of that in. And there's no chance to escape it because no one ever gives us notice. So that's just kind of terrifying, if you can imagine that being in front of your home and not knowing what you're breathing and your children are outside. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Jesse Gwynn?
Hey, y'all.
How are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks.
I'm glad of it. Good to see you. I appreciate all you do for what you do for us. And Mom introduced the situation, but okay. My name is Jesse Glenn, and I live on Fireside Drive in Laurel Fork. In late summer 2020, I was working in our garden. I heard a helicopter circling for about a half hour just over the hill. I began smelling chemical smell. When Mom got back from investigating, she rushed me inside that the helicopter was spraying fungicide on the cornfield about half a mile away. In a couple of days, there were hardly any of the birds, bees, and butterflies that I was accustomed to seeing in our garden and orchard that need these pollinators to function. I want to have an organic farm and orchard without someone else's spray impinging on my right to clean air and safe food. I miss our owls and the bird that used to say chirpity chirpity, chirpity chirp. The little house wren who used to say cheer, cheer, cheer. We heard our first tree frog in 2 years last night. Fungicides are dangerous to human health and to the environment. They're safe and effective alternatives. That farmers can and should use if their sprays are affecting the whole neighborhood. I'm about out of time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm not even gonna butcher your name up. But I do got a letter from you. Do you want the letter read or do you want to? Okay. And like I say, I would not even want to butcher that up, but you could give it to us. Okay. So this is her letter. To the Carroll County Board of Supervisors, my name is, I live at 913 Fireside Drive, Laurel Fork, although I'm not as well versed or affected by this topic as many others I know, for the simple fact that I do not grow my own produce. I do believe that spraying in this county should be stopped. They have been countless people, animals, and produce that has been greatly damaged by the spraying, and I'd like to think that people should have the say in what should be on their property and being ingested. Thank you. That's all right. And then we have another one, Tahoe West, Carroll County Board of Supervisors, to whom it may concern. My family and I live in Laurel Fork for 5 years, and during that time we've seen a decrease of wildlife, birds, etc., about 60%. Next door across the creek is a cornfield, and a few years ago a helicopter, not sure what that says, but it with pesticides, I'm sure, dusted, I think dusted. Pesticides cause cancer, and that spray didn't just say stay in only that field. I would like to see the neighbors stop spraying toxic pesticides and help the wildlife return back to this area. Thank you for listening. Also, if at all possible, it would be better for the environment if they could use organic safety spray. Sincerely, Tahoe West, Pine Branch Road, Law Fork, Virginia. All right. Thank you all for your time. I'm sure the board will take your comments under advisement. And
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
just if we can ask, get the staff maybe to contact USDA.
okay.
I'm sure that they have to be permitted, and there's certain restrictions and guidelines they have to go by. They have to be trained, so we might can find out more about it by contacting USDA.
Okay.
There's a Jim Atwell at VDOT in Virginia, Department of Agriculture and Human Affairs.
I'll grant you the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've never been one of these.
Yeah. No, ma'am. Yeah.
Coming from agriculture side of things, I know what you're talking about. My disappointment with that subject was when I went out and asked them what they were doing and scrambled. You know, and I was looking at the standpoint of what were they spraying, it was late in the evening. But from an agriculture standpoint, they should have been there and explained what they were doing. And they wouldn't do it. Scramble for that. And that's 2 years ago. I live close to the neighborhood. So I was curious. I'm not looking at the dirt and too low, somebody explain what we're doing to the
Mr. Chairman, I may also make another comment. When I asked if you knew who was doing the spraying, my intent was not to get a name. Is there any way we could strike that name from the minutes?
Minutes do not have to be verbatim, although it's going to be part of the record of the YouTube broadcast.
Right.
Um,
But that was not my intent. I did not want to hear the name. I just wanted to know if she knew who was doing the spraying.
Generally,
All right.
we can speak on that.
All right. Next on the agenda, we'll do our amendments and we'll ask Mr. Mankins to come and give us a report.
Hey, appreciate y'all having me back up here to talk to you.
Thank you, Ron.
The ones that don't know me, I don't usually come this clean all the time. The ones that do know me usually see me dirtier than this. I just come from work. But I just didn't want to get the money and run. I wanted to come back and tell y'all how we done in Louisiana. And y'all probably heard we didn't win a game, but I think we made a good impression on the people there. I heard several comments from Dixie officials there, people around Monroe and stuff about how well behaved all the boys were, how nice the parents were, the coaches and everybody. Just to give you a little background, first day there when they have opening ceremony there at the University of Louisiana at Monroe, when they call us out first, and they call people like from Texarkana, Arkansas, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Tampa, Florida, all these big places, and we, by far the smallest place, population-wise, played. The first day we played a team from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I think our population is like 165,000. And I guess we got about 28 or 9,000 in Carroll County, give or take a little bit. And that was a really good game. It was 2-0 going in the fifth inning. We'd had people on base every inning. It seemed like we'd hit into a double play, hit the ball right at them. In the fifth inning, the wheels just fell off, and they scored 8 runs and won by a 10-run slaughter rule. But the game was really a whole lot closer than the 10-0 thing. The boys kept their heads up after the game, and there wasn't no pouting, hollering, cheating, or nothing like that. They was disappointed they lost, but they understood somebody had lost. The next day, we played Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. And I looked up their population, like 465,000 people in that parish. So again, we were sort of outnumbered, but we wound up and lost that game 2-0. And the boys were right into it. And like I say, the parents were well behaved. The boys acted nice after the game, during the game, coaches and everybody. But I just wanted to let y'all know that I think you had some good ambassadors from Carroll County going off to Louisiana. So wasn't a bunch of spoiled people whining and crying about everything. And I just want to thank you for giving them the opportunity to go. Some of them went to the zoo down there. About every one of them went to the Duck Dynasty place, got them a duck call. They played in the swimming pools, went out and got stuff to eat, and sort of along the line of farming, they really farm big down there. I heard several parents say, boy, they really farm big. I mean, you didn't see no 20-acre fields. You seen 200 and 300-acre fields every which way. But again, appreciate y'all giving the boys the opportunity to go off, and I think they made a good representation for Carroll County.
Absolutely. We want to thank you, Ronnie, for making the kids have that opportunity as well, you know.
I'm glad to do it.
Yeah, so thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
Next, the Carroll County Fair, I think their board's here. Kevin and group. I mean, Sheila, Benny. We see a lot there. Yeah, come on. Yeah, because that's why we want you, you know. But the reason I spoke with Mike about getting y'all to come is just wanted to give the citizens and the board an update. I know that all the board members are willing to hopefully help out at the fair, and we're sort of wanting some guidance and direction that we maybe need to get with Kevin, you and your staff as far as, or with Cup as far as the scheduling. You know, I think what would you think would work the best? You know.
Probably both, okay?
Okay.
Next 2 weeks gonna be kind of critical. We gotta get pins built, we gotta get tents up, get everything in place to go.
Yeah. But we wanted to y'all to come and let y'all know how much we appreciate what y'all doing for the citizens of this county, and you have our utmost, you know,
Thank y'all.
opportunity to help. And if you would just maybe give us an update of where we're at, where we need to be in the next couple of weeks.
I had Sheila look up a few things just so you get a little bit of an idea here, and some of this stuff's gonna be off the top of my head too. But anyway, the fair started in 2005. This will be year number 17 of the fair. There's 1 year in our COVID we didn't actually have a fair, okay? As you all know, our fair is a lot more than a lot of folks' fairs because we do ag education days 4 of the 5 days during the week. We do all the second and third graders in Carroll County, second and third graders in the city of Galax, and on Friday, the Carroll County Young Farmers, who Ashley chairs, do the fifth graders in Carroll County, okay? It's about, according to our records right now, it's gonna be about 910 kids this year. So you're getting up towards 1,000 every year there that we go through a lot of different training things. Let me read you a list here, put that together for me. Of course, we'll go through the exhibit hall now and look at the exhibits. Storytelling, horticulture, beekeeping, beef cuts, natural resources, beef, sheep, dairy, equine, equipment safety, and barnyard. The Friday is just a little different. It's got some ATV safety and veterinary stuff in it actually too, okay? The deal is to kind of bring these kids up about ag and how important it is to the county and just how varied this county is. If you look at Carroll County's ag, there ain't many counties in the state that's got much more variation than we do, okay? I mean, we don't have a lot of poultry, we don't have a lot of hogs, but we do got some. We got a lot of, you know, produce and stuff. I don't think the corn this lady's talking about is produce. I think it was field corn, okay? But by the name was mentioned a while ago. But anyway, we won't get into that right now.
Yep.
On sponsorship, Sheila says between dollars given and in-kind stuff, we're at about $14,349 as of today. One thing really different this year, Virginia State University is going to bring their mobile ag education lab. We're not going to use that as a station. We just don't think we can get enough kids in at a time. But it's about 50, 60 foot long. What'd you say, Sheila?
Wow.
She saw this at a Farm Bureau thing back in the fall and thought it'd be a real good thing to bring to the fair. As far as the fair itself, we kind of changed the layout of it this year. Some of you have been there and helped, you kind of know all of our things are getting bigger each year. When Crystal and some of them started this thing years ago, we had, the first year we only had 1 livestock show. This year we'll have 6. We would normally have 7, but we're not doing poultry this year because of the avian flu, okay? We weren't required by the state not to have it. We decided it might be best on our accounts not to have it, okay? So, you know, that's a big challenge. But anyway, what's happening, these events are getting so big, like we used to do beef and dairy on the same night, and it got to midnight on the shows, and kids got to go to school next day, so that wasn't working too good. So we keep moving stuff around, trying to figure out how to get it placed so that we can get it in at a reasonable time and one does not affect another event. So kind of what's happening, on Saturday this year, on the Saturday previous to the fair, on the 20th, we're going to do the Trail Challenge, which is a part of the horse show. The horse show last year finished at 11 or 11:30 on Sunday night, so we're splitting it apart and doing it Sunday before the fair this year, actually, okay? The main horse show, the main events will be on Sunday before the fair, the 21st. The Market Lamb Show is typically the Saturday of the fair. It will be Saturday the 20th also. This may not work, but we were bumping so many things into so many things and just so much ground there to use. We're going to try this. We may regroup after this year and say we messed up. The exhibits will start coming in on Saturday and Sunday, just like last year, no different than that. The Derry Show, as of same as last year, it's backed up to Tuesday night. The fair itself, the gates actually open on Wednesday night. That's when carnival rides and everything start. The fair begins with the parade, just like it's always has, and it'll be a beef show on Wednesday night. Thursday night's a rabbit show and the farm horse pull. Friday night is the lawnmower race, and thanks to the landfill and a lot of folks, we've got the banks built for it already and the dirt in place, okay? Saturday, August the 27th, that's always our big day. We got the goat show at 10:30. We moved it from Friday night to Saturday morning so we get the lawnmower race starting on time. Forestry's at 12. Mr. Carpenter does a great job with that, and that thing keeps growing, keeps getting more interest and more money. And forestry's a big part of ag in this county, so, you know, we got to keep that going on. Pet show's at 2, storytelling's at 6, horse pull's at 7. That's the professional horse pull, the big horse pull. Sunday, you got wrestling, the bench show, treeing contest, coon dogs, recipe contest, and cornhole. The Stockman's contest, we used to try to do it on Thursday. Last year, we moved it to mid-September just because we're jamming so much stuff against so much stuff. When you're trying to do the little kids and bringing the bigger kids in there to do some of that stuff. Worked really well, I think, last year, John, with moving. Is that right? So we're trying to learn as we go, I guess. The bottom line, kind of what Tracy was saying a while ago, it takes a lot of volunteers to put this thing on. It takes a lot of money and a lot of volunteers. You know, there's a lot of groups that step forward. Some of them's members have changed. Search and Rescue is a good example, okay? Y'all used to be a great help, and you still are, but you're less on members now, okay? Shriner stepped in last year and really helped us kind of pick up where you all weren't able to. We've got to keep figuring things like that out. Skyview Church has stepped in and brought a lot of people the last 2 or 3 years. That's helped a lot. You know, Carroll County Farm Bureau, without them, the Women's Committee and Young Farmers, a lot of this event wouldn't happen, okay? So there's a lot of folks, and I can sit here and name people all night, but what Tracy's saying, it takes a lot of people to do the daytime and the nighttime of this event and just get things ready to do each day. Somebody asked me one time what I considered a good fair. First thing, we don't get nobody hurt. Second thing, we got good weather.
Yeah.
And third thing, we got the good people to pull it off.
Absolutely.
You know, it takes a good Lord to make it work. So,
Yep.
So
I agree.
that's pretty much what it amounts to. Okay, but and I could sit here and name you 1,000 people tonight that's helped us in some way at this thing, but it takes people, and some of our people are aging out every year. We've had a few pass away. You know, it changes every year. Be glad to try to answer any questions while we did something one way or the other, or anything I can. So, and if I can't, some people back here smarter than me, I guarantee.
Does anybody have any questions for Kevin? I know that the majority of the board wants to be there and help what days we can. We'll reach out to your office over there, Sheila and them, and see what we can do. And I know you got a busy time at the farmer's market getting corn going, but we appreciate you taking the time to come up with us, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for July 11th, 14th, and July 21, or we can break them out, either way you want to do it.
I make a motion, we approve all 3.
All right, I have a motion that we approve minutes July 11th, 14th, and 21st. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion second. Are there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll start the vote for Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCrone,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the payments of invoices.
I so move.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? And yet again, I do want to say, Mike and Justin, I thank y'all for the way y'all get them presented to us. So. All right, I'll start the voting with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. McCrone,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, new business, the countywide operational SOG, Mr. Bergeron, asked maybe if you'd speak on that. All right, thank you.
As I've shared with you all before and in different conversations, on the EMS side of emergency services, we operate under a standard medical protocol with operational medical director. And that is going to govern and pretty much have universal patient care no matter which agency responds or where at in the county that's taking place. What first put a set of operational guidelines for fire response and general emergency services response on the radar back in June of 21, we had the remnants of a tropical system moving through, and River Road out off of Silverleaf was flooded beyond bank to bank. A car was swept away when it was dispatched as entrapment. Laurel Fork Fire responds, Sheriff's Office responds, Carroll Fire Rescue responds. I was toned out as emergency management. We all get there. The occupant had self-extricated. The issue was we had, at the time, a string of then active responders waist deep or higher in the water. No PFDs, helmets, none of the things that are required for any type of swift water engagement. And their goal was to try to anchor off this vehicle to a light pole out there. And we immediately retracted that for obviously safety reasons. And that began conversations, because you're taught in swift water, if you're within 25 feet of the bank, you're supposed to have the helmet, the PFD, and the throw bag. Well, the operational guidelines here goes a little bit further and says within 10 feet, just to ensure that level of safety in that proximity to any type of current. So those things I've explained to the chiefs and the captains that this does not exceed really what's your firefighter 2 level of certification. So it's everything we already do. We're just putting it on paper so we can say, yes, we have a general response outline. For example, responding to acts of violence, if you've read over that, it's standard practice. We always stage. We wait for law enforcement to advise if the scene is safe. We just put it in black and white so we can say, yes, we have that policy. The past 2 orders of turnout gear have been on a countywide spec. We put it in a central document. So that's what we're trying to do, is streamline and kind of put a little backbone and standardized response to our services.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this countywide operational SOG.
I so move.
All right. Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote. Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next is the financial software. I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial software and to add into it within 2 years the commissioner, for every office except the commissioner of revenue and the treasurer's office.
I so move.
But then for them to be on it in 2 years?
Yes.
All right. All right, have a motion to have a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
This would be full implementation with us begin the implementation within 2 years. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is that good?
Absolutely.
All right. I'll start the voting with Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I so move.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting. Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, under old business committee appointments, I'll open the floor to the board for the library committee appointment. Or do you want to table them for another month?
I'll make a motion to put Darrell, Runo, I hope I said his last name correctly.
Okay. Have a motion, to have a second?
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll start the vote. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. The rest of them, I did speak with the sheriff on the Mount Rogers alcohol and safety, them two positions, so hopefully they'll find us a couple on there. Maybe we get you to follow up with them and see if they've been able to find somebody. Is that all the appointments that are open? Try it. All right. I entertain a motion to appoint Ronnie Collins to the, or Mr. Collins, I apologize, to the triad.
I so move.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Abstain.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, before we move on to board member comments, I think our last budget meeting, we had a motion for a contract, and we had a word that was messed around. Maybe we'll get you to speak on that we really need to fix that with a motion for the convenience center.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was going to address it in county attorney comments.
Okay, I apologize. We can do it then. That's fine. All right, board member comments. I'll start with Mr. Early.
I have a couple of things tonight. First thing, this morning I was watching the news. It was out of Winston-Salem, WXII. They were talking about one of the counties in North Carolina that has decided to put AR-15s in each of their schools that have an SRO. And those guns would be kept under lock and key, but at least it gives the SRO an equal opportunity to take that, a shooter out. So perhaps we could ask our school board, or maybe we could consider it too, to do the same thing at the schools that have SROs. Not in the schools with just SSOs, but the ones with SROs. I thought that was very interesting. I asked Mr. Watson to try to find a vehicle for the airport. They have a courtesy car that pilots use to go get lunch or do other business while they're in town. And the car they have currently was donated to the Airport Commission by Galax, and it's apparently outlived its usefulness, and he is helping to locate a vehicle, which we may have found an appropriate one, but I just wanted the rest of the board to know that we want to donate a surplus vehicle, maybe from the rec department. Is that right?
That's correct.
For the use of the airport. And they would title it and insure it. It would be off of our insurance. So I think that's a good thing. In our land use ordinance, I've mentioned this to Mr. Durbin, but we need to take into consideration protecting land to the south of the runway for future expansion. So if we could make sure that we don't overlook that in our land use planning ordinance that we're working on. Also, I've been going to the Laurel Fork Community Center meetings that they're held on the third Monday of each month at 7:30 out of Laurel Fork. So if you're interested, come on out. They've got a lot of good information. They also put out a calendar with all their events on it. They also have a small library out there. So if you're ever passing by Tuesday, Thursdays, or Saturdays, it's limited hours, but stop by and take a look at their library. They've also asked for some funding for an expansion of the Laurel Fork Community Center. It was a two-phase building to begin with. The second phase has never they've never had enough money to do it. They've got a building fund, and I'd like for this board to consider appropriating some money to that building fund so that one of these days they might be able to afford to do an addition. And lastly, back to the airport. At one time, personal property taxes on aircraft from at the airport were given directly back to the airport. And that stopped sometime, I don't know, in one of the prior administrations. But could we look at whether or not we could do that in the future? It's just aircraft personal property taxes that are paid, being sent directly back to the airport. It would probably lessen some of the other contributions that we give to the airport. I wouldn't think they'd want to, continue to get all the extra money that we've appropriated this year plus that, but maybe we can get together with them and work it out. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, I do have a couple questions after his statements. Do we need to have a vote as far as the car that we would donate to them, or is that something that could be done within the county to the airport?
I think what we would have to, in order to transfer it to another organization, to have a vote.
Okay.
But we can go ahead and prepare to do it, and then have the board vote on it once we.
Be pretty hard to vote on something if you don't know what car it's gonna be, correct? And secondly, I know that you talked about the Law Fork, me and you spoke about it. Did you, was you able to get with Krista or Mike on if you could put their calendar of events, piggyback it onto the counties?
I didn't talk to them about it, but I did mention it at the last meeting that they should do that.
Okay,
And I pointed them in Crystal's direction. I'm not sure they've called her or talked to her.
all right. And does the board need to set a date that we need all the grant opportunities in from the community centers? September 30th, okay.
September 30th is the
September
deadline.
30th is the deadline, yep. All right, Mr. Collins?
Yeah, I would just like to say appreciate the people who came tonight and spoke to the board on behalf of concerns and issues that they have. And just would like to make a call to all citizens to come and be part of the process. If you've got cares and concerns and questions, to come and be part of this process, because if you don't, you're going to get what you get. I'm disappointed to see that we didn't lower the personal property vehicle rate lower. I would love to have seen it go back to $1.86, which was what was recommended by the Commissioner of Revenue when she first came and spoke to us about it. But we got $2.15. I didn't get a second to my $2 per 100. It's obvious that $2.15 was the rate. I must have missed that memo, but that's what we got. So just encourage the citizens to come and speak on your behalf for what it is. I mean, I've had lots of people speak to me and tell me that you were struggling. And, one of the things our county did very well through a pandemic, much better than most would have ever imagined we would do. And I'd just like to see us give back to the citizens as much as we can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Hill?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming and want to encourage everyone to go to the county fair. It's an
Absolutely.
enjoyable thing to do, and the kids love it, and they come back every day almost, it seems like.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have to say.
All right. Mr. McCraw?
Got a couple things, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that on September the 23rd, with a rain date of September the 30th, we do an employee appreciation meal.
Okay.
And what I would like to see us do is, if all possible, is the board members serve that day, serve the food that day.
All right. Could I get a second to that motion?
I so move.
All right, have a second. All right, I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins, Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And I really appreciate the fair committee that came tonight. They do a lot of work. They put out a lot of effort into what they do, and it's just good to see. And it's like Kevin said, though, they are starting to have issues of people aging out.
Yeah.
We're all getting older.
Unfortunately.
My last thing, Mr. Chairman, is I've been contacted over the last week by several citizens expressing concerns about our code of ethics and our model of excellence that each board member signs. It's come from a wide variety group of people the concerns have. And um, several years ago, back in 2019, early 2020, this board took a lot of abuse. It was a different board at that time, but took a lot of abuse from about some decisions that we made, financial decisions that we made. And, you know, at that time, I tried to fight back on social media, and I found out that wasn't the thing to do. And now I don't do social media. I troll on it. I don't respond to people and don't ask people questions. If you've got a concern about something, I ask that you call me or email me. My email address and my personal phone number is listed on the county website. And I say that to go back to what I said about the model of excellence in our code of conduct. Well, not code of conduct. It's
You said code of ethics and model of
code of ethics and model of excellence. It's my opinion that there are some violations of that we need to have validated. And I'd ask that we direct Mr. Durbin to look into it
Okay.
and come back with some kind of idea that says if we are or if we aren't violating any of this. Any board member, all of the board members, or whatever. But
Okay.
I think it's time that we bring the integrity back to this board that we have had in the past. I want to do everything that we do needs to be done for the people of this county. And there's roughly 30,000 people in this county. And we need to be responsible for each one of them and do the best job that we can possibly do, be the best stewards that we can be with the county's funds, and make this, I hate to use the term make it great again, but I don't know what other word to use. And that's all.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Dixon?
Yeah, to me, it's been a very productive meeting. I want to thank the PSA board members for coming up with solutions so we didn't have to raise the water and sewer rates this year for the citizens. It's a tough year on everybody, so that was a good thing. We're also able to provide some tax relief on certain vehicles this year, about 15 cents. And to make a clarification, we can't do $1.86 because we couldn't go under the machine tax. $2 is a limit. I felt $2.15 was if we're going to hopefully do away with the county license fee of $25 because we've got so many citizens. 3,700 vehicles, I think, in the county. They're valued under $1,000. So if we can do that, I feel confident the board will pass that next month as well, and that'll be more savings to the citizens, and that'll help all citizens. So to me, it's a great thing when you can balance the budget and not raise taxes or water sewer fees. I mean, it's tough for everyone. But I do want to thank Fran and her staff at the Commissioner Revenue's office for their work on this. Of course, our staff, all the hard work in evaluating these NADA increases, giving us information we need to help the citizens. And one more thing, I'm sorry. And of course, thank you to all our staff, our volunteers, of course, can't do anything without them. Fire and Rescue Squad volunteers, our Carroll Fire and Rescue, Sheriff's Office, all deputies, dispatchers, admin and staff, and employees here. And definitely please come to the Carroll County Fair. If you're not being, you're missing out. August 24th through the 28th. It's only $5 to get in. You can ride as many rides as you want to, as many times as you want to. The only thing you got to buy is food. They got plenty of good food. 6 and under get in free. A lot of hard work goes into it. I volunteered every day last year, wore me out. So, but definitely going to do it some more this year. But thank you to Kevin and Sheila, the fair committee, all the volunteers for the fair. Without them, none of that's possible. That's all I have.
The joys of going behind all that. But I'll ditto what a lot of the board members have said. You know, I do want to add to Fran and her staff for, and I want to thank each of you board members for going and meeting with them. It was exciting for me to see that we had 6 board members that took time and went and met with them to do what we could to help, and that was yeoman's. I do appreciate y'all for that. I appreciate Justin and Mike Crystal for all they do. you know, I'm glad to see the guys from Kano enjoy the World Series and, you know, put a good showing on for the county. And Ronnie and the Dixie board for all their effort to make sure the kids have that opportunity. And the fair committee, and thank them for coming tonight and all they do to put on the fair. And I'm gonna thank the board for their willingness to volunteer to help with that. And I know Mike's got some volunteers within the county that's outside of maintenance is going to help, and I greatly appreciate that. And you know, challenge anybody that works for the county. You know, we all work for Carroll County, and the fair is for the county. So you know, we can all step up and join in and help. You know, and something that we all can be proud of, and it gives all the kids in the county an opportunity to have a good time for $5. You know, so that's always good. And with that being said, I'll move over to county administrator comment.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something else? I have just a couple more minutes.
I can grant you the floor.
All right. I'd just like to say Mr. McCraw brought up bringing back integrity to this board. I'm sure that Mr. McCraw is talking about some things that concern me with social media. And I just want it to be known by the community that for the past 8 months, there's a person who has berated me and harassed me and bullied me and stalked me in every way possible. The last insinuation is that I'm having an affair on my wife. That's never happened. It's not true. He's flat out told the community that I homeschool my children, so I don't support the county school system. That's not true. He's accused me of attending a dinner with the governor and somebody buying my tickets, and so that's illegal. I bought my own tickets. He accused me of going underdressed for that dinner. It's just been, I've had the daylights beat out of me, and I've reached out to Mr. Durbin for help. I've reached out to this board for help, and I've gotten no help. So,
well, Mr. Collins, this board's worked hard to, you know, we can only do what council gives us the opportunity to do.
well, I just want the community to know,
I
Mr.
understand.
Chairman, that,
I understand that.
you know,
And Mr. Collins,
you know, if people want to hear what the accusations are, I'd be glad to read them. I got every single one of them saved. And let me just say this, in response to that person, I have never responded.
right.
And so if there's an ethical issue with not responding to that kind of abuse,
right,
then I'm guilty.
I understand that. And I might be wrong, council can say, but, you know, I think the code of ethics and the model of excellence that Mr. McCraw had not really just spoke of one individual. I think it was for the whole board for us to do the right thing. I'm not, am I referring to saying that?
You're right.
Okay, all right.
Does Mr. Durbin need a motion to do what we ask him to do?
No, I think he can act on.
I can act, but if there are specific concerns, it's hard for me to do some sort of an audit of
I understand
anything without the background information. So
I
I'm
understand.
happy to assist in any way that I can. But again,
I think this is something that we possibly could talk about next month and come up with what we need as far as the board to look into.
That's fine with me.
Assessment of it.
That's fine.
May I say one thing?
I can grant you the floor.
This applies to all of us.
Yes.
I would just ask all board members that any information that, even though this is a public meeting and it's on YouTube and people can come or they can watch it or look at it later, I would ask that all members of this board, any information that we decide, make motions, pick a broadband provider, that information goes through the administrator's office and is released through him before it ends up on Facebook.
And just have to add to that, Jody, if people are here and people are watching online, it can be on Facebook in a heartbeat.
Some people don't do Facebook.
Okay,
I'm one of them.
I understand.
Gentlemen. All right, let's move on to county administrator comments.
Okay, I had one item that came up today with the earlier motion to approve, to move forward with a public hearing in order to change the collection date on the motor vehicle license. I would ask the board to consider a motion to approve an emergency ordinance. What this will allow us to do is to move forward with the taxes that are the license fee that is assessed on April 1st. That fee would be collected the same year. So in January the 1st, if an item is, if a vehicle has a license fee on, if you own the vehicle on January 1st, that you would be assessed that the upcoming year. So this year you would not receive that license fee. What would happen is that license fee that you are due on what you own on January 1st of 23 would be collected in the next December of 23. But in order to do that, we, unfortunately, in order to have that public hearing and to vote on it, it's past the date that is really needed in order to send the books to the treasurer's office to be sent out. The goal is to send out the tax tickets on personal property on September the 1st.
Okay.
Could I just amplify the county administrator's comments? I think the concept is that this will delay collection of the license fee, the $25 license fee, by 1 year. Give everyone a 1-year tax break. Basically,
Okay.
we won't collect it this year. In order to make this happen, generally we need to adopt an ordinance after advertising, and that was the plan that Mr. Watson and I had discussed. But in order to keep it timely for the Commissioner of Revenue to get the tax book delivered, we need some action before then. So we've prepared an emergency ordinance that's essentially identical to the ordinance that will be that we're asking you to authorize the advertisement for the next meeting. But it goes ahead and takes that action now. The board can adopt emergency ordinance that would stay in effect for 60 days. So that would give you an opportunity to adopt it now. The commissioner's office would then have the guidance that they need, I believe.
Okay.
And then you would make this permanent by adopting the advertised ordinance at your next meeting.
But the commissioner can go ahead and move forward if it's passed in the next meeting, correct?
Right, because as it stands at the time that she's releasing the tax books, the fee has been delayed a year.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion under that.
So
Make
moved.
that motion.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Are there any discussion? I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And that's
Is that all
the
you
only,
had?
that's all I've got.
All right. County attorney comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one issue I'd like to bring up. Mr. Watson brought something to my attention. Looking at the minutes of the July 14th meeting, and of course I was out of the state at that time, so I wasn't here, but I've sort of gone back and discussed it with Mike, and it looks like we've just got a simple issue of misspoke on a motion. The minutes of that meeting approve as one of the items of board action was the Cana Convenience Center resolution. Mr. Collins made a motion, seconded by Mr. Hill, to adopt the amendment to the resolution. And it was adopted. The only problem with that is that you didn't have a resolution prepared before you at that time. What you had was an amended agreement. I think that what the motion meant to state was a motion to adopt the amendment to the agreement. So with that, my recommendation, just to kind of clean that up, would be I would ask for a motion to rescind the Cana Convenience Center resolution, which is a nullity because there wasn't a resolution, and to instead adopt the amendment to the Cana Convenience Center agreement with
Okay.
Collins Container Solutions.
Does Mr. Hill, Mr. Collins need to?
Container storage.
I'm
solution.
sorry. Yeah, I've misspoken myself.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
I will
Container Storage Solutions LLC was the entity.
I can't repeat it back, but I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, motion second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCrone,
No.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And just to summarize that, so that everyone's aware of the provisions that was before the board on the 14th and was just adopted now. This is an amended agreement between the county and Container Storage Solutions LLC. Whereas the county has the authority to contract with others to provide and operate within or outside its boundaries, solid waste management facilities or appurtenances for the collection, management, recycling, and disposal of solid waste, recyclable materials, and other refuse of the residents and businesses of the locality. And whereas the county issued a request for proposals for certain waste hauling, waste management services at the county's Cana Convenience Center, and the company has submitted a proposal in response thereto. And whereas the county has issued to the company a permit/license to engage in the business of solid waste collection, hauling, and disposal within the geographical boundaries of the county, consistent with the requirements of the county's solid waste ordinance, Chapter 201 of the Carroll County Code. And whereas the parties previously entered into an agreement approved by the County Board of Supervisors in March 2022, and since that time the parties have determined to modify the agreement to clarify the scope of services and applicable rules governing the agreement, and to provide for additional services to be provided by the company to the public, and such modification is permitted pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-4309 and Paragraph 5 of the County Standard General Terms and Conditions, which were incorporated into the agreement by reference. Therefore, in consideration of the foregoing premises and the mutual covenants contained herein, the county and the company hereby agree to modify the agreement as set forth herein. Paragraph 1 of the agreement is hereby amended to read as follows. Number 1, service provided residential rates. The company shall provide 3 20-yard roll-off dumpsters at Cana to be hauled daily or as needed when full to the Carroll, Grayson, Galax Regional Solid Waste Authority landfill. The company shall offer 1 additional 20-yard roll-off dumpster at Cana for recycling. The company will offer to customers residential trash and recycling disposal for a charge of $9 per pickup truckload of bagged household trash and or recycling, and $6 per carload disposing of 1 to 4 bags total of waste or recycling. Additionally, the company will offer the following additional services for a separate fee as follows. A, automotive tires, excluding agricultural and semi-tires, $4 each. B, old household appliances, $9 each. Mattress box springs, $12 each. Cardboard, plastic bottles, bagged, $3 per bag. Effective March 1st, 2023, and on each anniversary thereof, the company shall be permitted to increase these charges by no more than 3% annually, but only in the event that the Carroll Grayson Galax Regional Solid Waste Authority landfill tipping fees have increased during such time. The company shall have the right to refuse service to any individual, institution, or business that does not pay this charge, or whose account shall be in arrears or delinquent. The company may refuse the collection of any solid waste that is not acceptable for disposal at the regional landfill, or would result in violation of any applicable law or regulation. Paragraph 2 is amended to read as follows. Specifications of solid waste. The company's policies for solid waste storage, preparation, container specifications, and placement shall at all times adhere to the requirements of the ordinance, and the company will post in conspicuous places at the Cana Convenience Center that no solid waste may be accepted from outside of Carroll County. The company may post advertisements of a reasonable size and character at the site, notifying the public of other services offered by the company off-site, such as roll-off and similar services. All remaining terms and conditions, unaltered by this amendment, remain the same.
Okay.
So that's the amendment that is
Been approved
on
now.
record now. Yes.
All right. All right.
And
You have
that's all
anything
that I
else?
have.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make that motion.
All right. A motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. I'll start the vote with Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Dixon.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw.
Yes.
And I vote yes.